Have you ever caught yourself thinking, I wish I could leave my job, but I just don't have a business idea? Or maybe you've scrolled through LinkedIn, seen someone else launch a business, and thought, how did they even come up with that? So here's the truth. Most great business ideas, they're not flashes of genius, they're discovered, not invented. And today, I want to take a couple of minutes and walk through and show you guys exactly how to find a profitable business idea using skills you already have, even if you feel totally stuck right now. So, for those of you guys who don't know me, I'm Shanice, the corporate escapee, and I help corporate professionals turn their experience into successful businesses. And today I'm going to walk you through a simple, proven process to uncover business ideas that are not only profitable, but actually fit your strengths and your lifestyle goals. So, grab a pen. Open a notes app and let's do this together. So, the first thing I want to do right off the bat is bust one of the biggest myths that is out there and that I hear people bringing up again and again and again. And that is you do not need a never been done before idea to be successful, right? There's so many people that I talk to that they'll say things like, oh, somebody else has done this. I've seen somebody else do this before. I'm not sure. I need to come up with something, completely unique, completely different. And when I have people who bring that to me, I ask them, hey, when you went from your house to work and back today, how many restaurants did you stop? Or stop by rather? How many do you see? Better yet, how many of them maybe serve something similar, right? And when I ask people that, they stop and they're like, oh, yeah, I do pass, Cracker Barrel, McDonald's, Taco Bell, Zaxby's. At least that's what I do over here when I'm taking my kid to football practice and back. So many different things, and quite a few Mexican food restaurants as well. And it's like you can be offering the same thing, right? So, food, a dining experience, but maybe add your own unique style, your own flair that has it be uniquely you. And so honestly, when you stop and think about it and when you just look at businesses today, most thriving entrepreneurs, they start by solving a problem they've already seen close up. Oftentimes at work, right? There's so many people who, I was at work and I kept running into this problem or I kept seeing this problem. I figured out how to solve it. So it's not that people are coming up with this brand new, never before seen thing again. And here's another secret. Your corporate skills, they truly are a gold mine, even if you can't see it yet. The key is learning how to connect what you know to what people need. So if you have it in your mind that you can only start a business, you can only leave the corporate world if you create something that no one else has ever done before, I want to just go ahead and release you from that, right? Like it's perfectly okay. It's completely acceptable. And honestly, you know that there's a market for it, right? If you're presenting a solution to a problem that people already have, and something that you may have even seen out there, just adding your own flair, your own unique little spin to it. So the next thing that I want to do is, let's get practical, right? So we've gone ahead, we've busted that myth. And the next thing that I encourage everybody to do is just take an inventory of your skills and passions. And we've talked about skills and passions before, but when you're doing that, like ask yourself a couple of questions. What do colleagues, what do those coworkers always come to you for help with? What parts of your job do you actually enjoy? What do people outside of my work ask my advice about? And one of the things that I kept finding myself in, and I'm sure that some of you guys may also find yourself in similar situations, even in your day to day, you'll have your family, your friends. I even had, my son's teachers at school sometimes come and ask me questions. And I was like, okay, there may be something to this. So take inventory during the day, during the week. What are the answer to those questions? I'll repeat those again. What do your coworkers always come to you for help with? What parts of your job do you actually enjoy? And what do people outside of your work ask advice about? And that second one, parts of your job you actually enjoy. It's not the same as what you're good at, right? So it can be a little bit different. So, for example, whenever whenever I was in my corporate job, I was very big into like data and understanding Excel, and I knew how to do all the pivot tables and the formulas and all of these things. And people would come to me and ask me for help and advice on things like that. Even now, I still have people asking me questions around that kind of stuff. And I got really good at it, not because I loved it, not because, data was my favorite thing to deal with, but because I wanted to make sure that I always knew my business, right? So sometimes they don't always mesh up. So make sure that you take inventory and you're not automatically assuming just because you do it 9 times a day or because it ends up being something you do the most. It's what you love. Okay, little tangent, but yeah, so go ahead, list out your top 3 to 5 skills or your strengths. Don't overthink it. If you're great at organizing chaos, leading teams, maybe building spreadsheets, right? Or explaining complex ideas, go ahead, write it down. And then once you've done that, throw in a passion or two. Like, what do you find yourself reading about or talking about, even when you're off the clock, right? So what are those things that you're doing when nobody's paying you to do, and nobody's watching you? That is where those passion pieces come in. So take some time, skills, your passions. What are those? Ask yourself those hard questions. Ask yourself those tough questions, and give yourself a little bit of space to reflect, right? And then from there, what are some of those real problems? Take some time, find some real problems. So you're going to match your skills to real world problems. So here's a simple exercise. Think about a frustration that you've experienced at work or, in your industry. And so that may be something like, what's slowing people down or what's slowing you down on your day to day. What do people complain about in meetings, right? We all have, you probably have a Monday meeting, probably a Friday meeting, maybe even a midweek meeting. What are the things that keep coming up as problems or issues or concerns? And maybe even what are some things that you've solved for yourself that others still struggle with, right? Maybe there's something that you've figured out a really cool process or a workflow with that keeps coming up again and again and again. So I'm trying to think of a really good example here on this one. So one of the things that I found myself dealing with a lot is new hires, right? So we would have new hires come in, and I got really, really good at getting these new hires ramped up, understanding the things that they were supposed to do, and really supporting them their first couple of weeks in role, so much so that it kept coming up in meetings, right? These new hires, how do we help them? How do we help them? And so ended up putting together programs to help these new hires get ramped up really quickly, have the support that they needed, and see success really fast. And honestly, that was where I feel like my love for coaching and training development started. And it was from that, right? That ability to get people who knew nothing to these amazing, wonderful individuals in the company, and then being asked to do that for so many other people, right? So something like that. And as you guys are going through this, and you're thinking about it, connect those dots, right? For each skill, for each passion that you listed earlier, ask yourself, who needs this? Who would pay for this? Maybe you're a pro at onboarding new hires, right? Just like I said. And could you help small businesses set up their onboarding processes? So a lot of things, when you stop and you think about these skills and you think about these problems, a lot of places where you'll start seeing some connections that you can make, and really just go from there. Maybe you're great at data analysis. Could you freelance for startups who can't afford a full-time analyst? So, as you guys think about this, don't be afraid to, think outside the box, share the things that you're learning, that you're leaning into. And honestly, like the best businesses, those best business ideas even, they live at that intersection of like what you're good at, what you enjoy, and what people will pay for. So I'm thinking of it almost like a cool little Venn diagram, right? So wherever you can find that intersection is going to be your sweet spot. And then once you've done that, I encourage you to validate fast. So validate your idea before you overthink it, right? Like you don't want to spend, 2 months trying to figure out all the perfect ways to do everything before you make sure that this is something that people want. So don't spend months, building a perfect website, perfecting a logo. Instead, talk to real people, post in a LinkedIn group, maybe ask, does anybody else have the same problem? reach out to a couple of your contacts and say, hey, would this help you? Would you pay for it? Maybe even offer to solve the problem for free or at a discounted rate for your first client, just to see if there's a real demand, see what that process is like, get some testimonials from your time working with them. And remember, when you're doing this, like the goal, it's not necessarily to be perfect, it's to get proof that your idea solves a real world problem. So quickly, just to recap, list your top skills and passions, match them to real world problems, validate your idea by talking to real people. And I would love it if every single one of you guys went out and picked one skill from your list and think about one problem that it can solve for someone else. Then before, the end of the day, message or email someone who might need that solution and ask, hey, is this a problem for you? And would you pay to have it solved? And that's it, right? Like that can be your first step of coming up with this idea and seeing if it's something that would even do well in the marketplace. And honestly, like you might be surprised what kind of doors it opens just from that conversation. And I would love to hear how you guys go about implementing this and some of the successes that you have down the line. So go out there, guys, be great. I'm super excited to see what everybody creates, and I hope that you all have a fantastic Wednesday.